Michigan State defeated Boston College in a classic, all-time classic 42-40 overtime victory. Michigan State 42, Boston College 40. I thought Michigan State was going to win this game pretty convincingly. I was wrong on that front, but I was correct in the sense that Michigan State won. Some things to keep in mind here looking at the data. Michigan State's pass defense is not, I repeat, not fixed. Nakai Martinez, their best safety, their best DB being out certainly doesn't help, but I still think that performance to a large degree was inexcusable. Before I resume, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bells, and comment your thoughts down below. I love your engagement. Don't just hit the notification bell for my main channel, hit the bell for any team playlists attached to the video if interested. If your team is not there or you're not interested, please navigate to my home channel page, check out the playlists tab. Your team will be there if it's a Power 4 team, and hit the notification bell so that you can get notified when I cover that specific team. If you want additional content, bonus content, sign up as a paid member of the channel with the appropriate tier. I also give priority reply to members. And check out our Discord server. It's free. You get to interact with me. I get to pop in there, and the Discord server will notify you when we go live or when I upload videos. I mean, Boston College was getting whatever they wanted through the air, even when they couldn't run the football. It was kind of an indicting, damning performance on MSU's secondary. But Michigan State's defensive front, Michigan State's offensive line in terms of run blocking, their receivers, their QB play, I thought were incredibly admirable in this matchup. They fought hard. They were tough. I loved what I saw out of Michigan State in the trenches, their physicality and physicality of their players, breaking tackles, staying upright, churning forward for extra yards. That is Mekhi Frazier, Nick Marsh, Alante Brown on that kickoff return. Michigan State, I think, is clearly a better team and a, more importantly, tougher team than they were last year. Boston College has some issues. They do. Michigan State does too. I mean, Boston College averaged 0.25 expected points added per play, 86th percentile. They had a 50% success rate, and that's Boston College. Now, Dylan Lonergan was recruited highly out of high school. O'Brien is known for having a knack with QBs, so I'm going to give MSU somewhat benefit of that out and say Lonergan may be one of the better QBs they play all year. But he's not better than Raiola, not better than Aller, probably not better than Maava, who they're going to be playing kickoff 11 p.m. Eastern time in 2 weeks. There's a lot of other QBs and especially offenses and teams overall that are better than Boston College. So I have concerns for Michigan State in that regard. But here, a win is a win. That's what you needed. You needed that win. You got it. And I think that to a certain degree, you have to be content with that. And as a member of the live chat just pointed out, and that's a really good point that I wrote down here, but just didn't get to it yet, Childs doesn't turn over the football as much. He's not as turnover prone. Even though I don't think his pocket awareness has taken leaps and bounds forward from last year, it's better. He doesn't make the same risky throws, and he had a beautiful pass deep to Nick Marsh late in the game that I think really helped keep Michigan State in it and gave him momentum, because Michigan State, I think, is the better team than Boston College, but to win only by 2 at home in overtime and your opponent outgains you by, 77 yards is not a good sign, especially when they're one-dimensional and they still are passing on you and moving the ball. Like Boston College had 390 passing yards for 4 touchdowns. Michigan State had 231 for 4, to be fair. Like they were passing the ball really good and certainly running the ball better than Boston College. But just some concerning things that I saw out of MSU and BC there, but mostly MSU, given I thought they're gonna win pretty handily. I was wrong. Boston College, Michigan State about split TOP. BC had 70 plays, MSU had 64. The real difference here was Michigan State had 5.7 yards per carry. BC had 2.7. So I think what helped MSU at the end there with the 2-point conversion is at some point in the game, it becomes obvious that Boston College can really only pass the football. So it becomes obvious what to defend. MSU was good enough at both running and passing where Boston College's defense was on its heels a little bit more. And, that rollout, the fake rollout where Childs rolls to the opposite side of where he wants to find his receiver, passes it, Marsh gets separation, 2-point conversion's good, it's a win. Very exciting game. I thought it was the best game of the weekend, honestly, in terms of excitement, with Florida USF being close. But that was much uglier. Iowa State, I also would say, is pretty close, but again, uglier. And Michigan State wins. Adjusting for sacks, they ran for 5.7 yards per carry. Boston College didn't get any sacks, so their 2.7 yards per carry is what their rushing offense is. It's a bad rushing offense. They weren't good against the FCS, even worse against a stout MSU front. Michigan State has proven, I think, that they have a good rushing offense through 2 weeks. It's a better rushing offense than I thought they would have. They do have inferior pass protection compared to what I expected, though. Their tackles have kind of disappointed me a bit in pass pro, but they have impressed me in run blocking, that's for sure. Some other things to keep in mind here. Neither team could really stuff their opponent's run, but Michigan State did a good job limiting it to maybe 1 or 2 yards. Boston College couldn't tackle as well as Michigan State did. They just didn't. Michigan State ran the more explosive operation, and I think at the end of the day, I mean, maybe I'm wrong here. It felt like Michigan State was the better team and that they have the better defense and slightly better offense, but that Boston College had a huge matchup edge. Part of it was thought to be potentially their power rushing with some of the NFL players they have in the O-line and how they've traditionally ran the ball with Castellanos. But at the end of the day, their massive matchup advantage was their receivers, Lewis Bond, quarterback Dylan Lonergan, and also got to shout out some other receivers that they have. Jeremiah Franklin. They used Turbo Richard out of the backfield fairly often at running back. Those players against Michigan State's DBs, that was an absolute nightmare. I mean, the epitome of Michigan State's defense struggling against Boston College was Jordan Hall being, lined up against a Boston College receiver and Joshua Eaton being annihilated and totally missing a open field tackle against Turbo Richard for, I think, Boston College's first or second touchdown. Just Michigan State didn't take good angles. They were not covering their receivers well, had some missed assignments. It just wasn't a good game from the Spartan defense. So Joe Rossi really has a lot to go back to on the drawing board and a lot of different things to fix. But it's a good win for Michigan State. And a huge takeaway I would have for both of these teams, because they're in similar situations. I think Michigan State's better, but Michigan State has probably a larger weakness than Boston College does. Their secondary. We'll see what happens when Martinez comes back, and I think they may have some other injuries too. And their schedule's tougher. So will either of these teams go bowling, or can they dish out any upsets? That's a really good question, I think, that people should be considering. That these teams, with what they showed, week 1, week 2, looking at preseason research, knowing that I think both Bill O'Brien and Jonathan Smith are good coaches, well, what can they do? Like, they're probably gonna need an upset or two to go bowling, or to certainly go better than that. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I mean, Michigan State plays Youngstown State, but then they have to travel to USC. 11 p.m. kickoff, and USC right now is being viewed very highly in the power ratings. After their bye, they have to travel to Nebraska, host UCLA, travel to Indiana, host Michigan, play at Minnesota. Off their November 8th bye, they got to play Penn State at home, Iowa on the road, and Maryland neutral field. For Boston College, meanwhile, they got to play at Stanford this Saturday. They have a bye September 20th, but they have to host Cal, play at Pitt, host Clemson, host UConn, who nearly beat Syracuse, play at Louisville, host Notre Dame, host SMU, host Georgia Tech. It's a lot of games in a row. Michigan State's byes are better placed. They get a bye November 22nd before playing at Syracuse November 29th. What upsets can they pull off? Will they go bowling? I would be inclined after this performance to say that both are around 6-6. These are 6-6 caliber teams. But Michigan State's defense is in trouble. It is. I mean, we've already talked about this. They could not stop Boston College's passing attack, even when they knew it was coming. And Boston College can't run the football. Now, I think Michigan State's defensive front's good. Like, I don't think anyone on their schedule minus maybe USC, Penn State, and maybe Iowa as injuries set in are going to be able to run on them. I think a lot of teams will have problems running on Michigan State. Even if they're able to pass successfully on them. I truly think Michigan State's linebackers in front are kind of that good. Elite? No, absolutely not. But good, maybe great, yeah. However, objectively looking at their FCS performance and the fact that Boston College could do whatever they wanted through the air, and even then the rushing attack wasn't open, that's cause for concern. Like, Clemson's defense is better than Michigan State's. Notre Dame's is. Louisville's is probably more balanced and therefore will be harder for Boston College to take advantage of. And Boston College, look, they're not deep. So the more games you play, more injuries you incur, the worse you get, similar with Michigan State. So I'm curious to see how these teams do, and I'll be following each fairly closely, especially the Spartans, but Boston College too. I'll be following them throughout the year. Michigan State is a run game. I think Childs is gritty. A question I have that I want an answer for in these next few weeks is whether or not Dylan Lonergan is great. Against Syracuse, I'd expect him to perform well. I meant to say Stanford, but Syracuse I would too. Syracuse looks pretty bad. I would expect it against Stanford. I'd expect it against Cal. I can't say I really objectively expect it against other teams, but we'll see. I think Childs is more proven to this point than Lonergan, but Lonergan really impressed me. I mean, he had some really good throws. Also had open receivers all night, but he had some impressive throws and he kept his poise. So we'll see what happens, and maybe Boston College's pass protection is that good. I know Rossi's defense traditionally struggles getting sacks. Michigan State doesn't have elite pass rushers, but who knows? It's a little too early to make definitive conclusions for either of these teams. I would just say, based on preseason research and maybe recalibrating a bit from what I've seen, I think both of these are teams that'll finish 5-7, 6-6, 7-5. I think Michigan State has a higher ceiling. I think they are a better team with more potential. I will say, though, with that secondary and with the schedule they have, Boston College may have a higher floor, but with Michigan State having that head-to-head win, it's going to be easier at this point, I think, for Boston College to finish 4-8, 5-7 than it will be for Michigan State, even with the Spartans having the tougher schedule. Overall, it's a good game. I think Bill O'Brien and Jonathan Smith are both good coaches in their own right. I have a lot of respect for them. Up next, Boston College plays at Stanford this weekend. Michigan State gets more of a tuned-down game before their trip to USC in Week 4 by playing Youngstown State at home this Saturday. Thank you so much for watching College Football with Sam. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bells, and comment your thoughts down below. Again, for the notification bells, don't just hit the bell for my main channel, hit it for any team playlists attached, or if you're not interested in those teams, navigate to my channel homepage, to the playlists tab. There will be a playlist for your favorite team if it's a Power 4 team. Hit the notification bell for that playlist so you can get notified when I mention them or talk about the conference broadly that they reside in. If you want bonus content, sign up as a paid member. And our Discord server is totally free. You get to interact with me and several other diehard football fans in there. So do those things. Most of them are free. And if you want to go the extra mile, there's always the Patreon page and YouTube memberships.